All right, guys. So this is a pretty big story here because obviously the January 6th riot is a big moment in American history now. And the first Capitol rioter, not the first Capitol rioter rather, but this is the first sentencing of a Capitol rioter. And so the first sentencing has actually happened. And so it appears that the penalty for this rioter is 8 months in prison. So it says the Capitol rioter was sentenced to 8 months in prison on Monday, the first felony sentence imposed on a participant in the attack on January 6th. Paul Allard Hodgkins had pleaded guilty to 1 count of obstruction of an official proceeding, which carries a maximum possible sentence of 20 years in prison. U.S. District Court Judge Randolph Moss ordered the sentence in a hearing, saying he was encouraged by Hodgkins' remorse over his participation in the riot, but called the events on January 6th, quote, chilling. Democracy requires the cooperation of the government, Moss said. When a mob is prepared to attack the Capitol to prevent our elected officials of both parties from performing their constitutional and statutory duty, democracy is in trouble. The damage that Mr. Hodgkins and others caused that day is way beyond a several-hour delay in certification of the election. It is damage that will persist in this country for decades. Says federal prosecutors had recommended an 18-month prison sentence for Hodgkins, acknowledging that he had been working to accept responsibility for his actions that day, but he had been a willing and active participant in the riot. It also goes to note that he was not accused of carrying out any of the violence that rocked the Capitol, but he did enter the complex and even the Senate chamber carrying a Trump 2020 sign, latex gloves, protective eye goggles, and a rope. He came all the way over from Tampa, Florida, to go over to the U.S. Capitol. So here is what this guy looks like. I don't know if you guys remember this guy. I don't remember this guy specifically. But I am kind of, I don't know if I should say I'm surprised that he got only 8 months in prison for what he did. But definitely I think that he at least should have got more than 8 months for what he did. I mean, this is a pretty serious crime, I would say. Obstructing a legal proceeding like, essentially trying to invade and being partially successful in invading the U.S. Capitol building in an attempt to overturn the election results. That's a serious crime right there. Like, that's a really big crime. And honestly, like, think about what would have happened if there was no protection, no security, and those people were able to, these rioters were able to get in. What would have happened? What do you think would have happened? It would have ended pretty bad, right? Nobody really knows even exactly what happened. But seriously, it would have been something bad. So 8 months, I think, is a huge, massive lowball. You should be looking at least 2 to 5 years. I feel like only 8 months, it's not really a good... I don't think it really matches the crime. It's really incalculable, sort of, the damage that something like that can do, especially the precedent that it could set in the future. So I think they got lowballed. I think that if this was like a Capitol rioter who was, maybe it was like, I don't know, in a hypothetical world, Obama loses or something like that, and, it was a black rioter, I think they probably would have got much more time. That's still, unfortunately, the way the justice system works is very racist. But definitely lowballed here. I think this is too low of a sentence. But this is, I guess, history because it's the first sentencing given to a Capitol rioter. But definitely a weak sentence, man.